Alrighty, I think I'm live. Probably talking to an audience of one. Let's see. Gonna do some advent of code today. Yeah, a couple minutes. Check it on my phone and make sure it's actually working. Hey, Josh. Thanks for joining. Hey, Josh. Is the, I'm assuming the levels are okay. There we go. Now I gotta find that chat window. That background music is okay, right? All right. Well, I'm gonna get started. And I will try to pay attention to the chat, but yeah, advent of code. I am not on day 2. I need to go to day 1. And like I said, I did cheat a little bit. I am familiar with the problem, the 2 parts of the puzzle for the first day. I watched the You Suck at Programming. I watched that live stream a couple days ago, but he's doing it in Bash, so I had no idea what I was looking at. And today we're going to do it in PowerShell. So All right, so day one, secret entrance. Let's see what we got. The elves have discovered project management. That's given them the tools they need to prevent their usual Christmas emergency. For example, they now know that the North Pole decorations need to be finished soon, so things can be started on time. Okay, they have a new emergency. None of them have any time left to decorate the North Pole. To save Christmas, the elves need you to finish decorating the North Pole by the 12th. That's right, there's 12 problems this year. I didn't read the blog, but I think the gist is it's a lot of work putting these puzzles together. And so this year there's 12, and we're going to be happy about it because maybe I'll be able to finish the whole thing this month. We will see. Collect stars by solving the puzzles. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. You arrive at the secret entrance to the North Pole base, ready to start decorating. We need to find the password. The password's been changed. You can't get in. Document says, due to the new security protocols, the password is unlocked. Or excuse me, the password is locked in the safe below. Then we have to look at a document for the combo. The safe has a dial with only an arrow. And there are the numbers 0 through 99 in order around the dial. As you turn the dial, it makes a small click noise as it reaches each number. There's a document attached. Your puzzle input contains a sequence of rotations. Let me bring that chat back up just so it's sitting over the top of my other monitor there. All right. So the puzzle input, it's going to start with an L or an R, which indicates the direction to rotate, and then a number. There's a distance value, which is how many clicks the dial should be rotated in that direction. So it's not like L35 to go to the number 35 in the left direction. We're going to move 35 numbers in either the left or right direction. All right. So if the dial were pointing at 11, a rotation of R8 would be, what's that, 19? After that, a rotation of L19 would cause it to be at 0. All right, so because the dial is a circle, returning, okay, yep, it's got to roll over from 99 to 0 and 0 to 99. Dial starts by pointing at 50. All right. Follow the instructions, but your recent required official North Pole secret entrance security training seminar taught you that the safe is actually a decoy. The actual password is the number of times the dial is left pointing at 0 after any rotation. So we start at 50, we do a whole bunch of moves, and we count the number of times we stopped at 0. Okay. So here's our sample input. Let's get started. Where's the window? All right, I'm going to move the shell down here for a while because I'm going to be up in the editor. All right, so position is 50. And we're going to have our, we're going to do PowerShell. We're going to try to do it the right way and parameterize it. So we'll do a param block and we'll say the input, puzzle input. Is that what they called it in here? Oh yeah, I need to log in. All right, now I'm logged in. All right, so it's called puzzle input. Let's go ahead and create a new file. Part 1, sample input. And we'll go back to that browser and get the puzzle input here. Okay. And so in PowerShell, you can get the content of a file with the get content command. And we need to get into the right folder. So CD 25 day 1. So 2025 day 1. And GC is the alias for get content. So we got that there. We made it a mandatory parameter. So in order to call this script, we need to provide the path to the puzzle input. And then for now, we'll just do a get content puzzle input. Verify that works. Oh, it's part 1.ps1. Okay, it's wanting the input. Part 1 sample input.txt, and that's working. So we got our puzzle input, and we need to look at each line. In fact, I'm going to open this to the right. Split right. There we go. And we'll use for each object. Move this over here. So $_ is going to represent the value of that line. And so it's going to start with L68. And so we need to determine whether to add or subtract 68 from our current position. So we're going to do move equals, and let's see, we can do split on, no, I can't do a split. I'll just take the first character. So direction equals, we're going to do start with L. So if it's L, the direction is to the left, which is going to be a negative number. And so we're just going to make that a -1. And what am I doing? The ternary operator is question mark. Then there we go. And right now I'm making an assumption that the lines are only ever going to start with an L or an R. That could change. But if it starts with an R, then the direction is going to be 1. And distance equals, and we're going to grab the number part. So I'm going to convert a string to an integer, and we're going to do a substring. Could do a substring, or we could do dash replace. Want to stick to PowerShell operators. All right, dash replace, and we're going to do L or R. And then position equals position plus direction times distance. Okay. And then if the position lands on 0, so if position is equal to 0, then we need some sort of placeholder. So what do we want to call that? call it tick for now, tick equals 0. So if position is equal to 0, then we'll do tick plus equals 1. Can you do just plus plus without it returning anything? I think it only returns something if you wrap it in parentheses. So we could probably do that. And then at the end, we'll return tick and see if that works. All right. Do part 1. And then our puzzle input. And we got some errors. The term equals is not, so of course I did a C# thing. Do that all the time. Okay, it gave us 2. Is that the right answer? Should have been 3. Because the dial points at 0 a total of 3 times during this process. Password of this example is 3. So the dial starts by pointing at 50, rotated L68 to a point at 82. So just to test my numbers, why don't I just spit out right, verbose, position. There we go. And I think I do Shift F11. Yeah, there we go. Dash verbose. Oh, so I went, that's not right. Position negative 15. So it starts at 50. And then it goes L68. And so it should go to, oh, I forgot to do the wraparound code. Oops. All right, so position equals position plus the distance that we moved. If that's let's do distance equals our number, the raw number times direction, and get rid of this. Should we do new position? I'm not sure if I need a placeholder here. New position equals position plus distance. And then, all right, so if we started at 50 and went backwards more than 50, we're gonna have a negative number, and we need to, what do we need to do? So we start at 50, we're moving 68, and so we would end up with minus 18. And do I need to add 100 to that? Yeah, so I need to add 100 to it if I go backwards. Also, what if we have a number that is like 200 or something? So if it's more than 100, we need to add 100 multiple times. Okay, so while new position is less than 0, we're going to do new position equals new, let's do plus equals 100. All right, so while it's less than 0, we're going to add 100. And while new position is greater than 99. Do new position minus equals 100. You know, Josh, it probably did complain about it and I wasn't paying any attention. Let me do that again. No, it's not complaining. I don't know why. That's a pretty common error. I would have thought PS Script Analyzer would have looked for that. All right. Am I doing this right? All right, so I got my new position. I don't really need to have a placeholder number anymore. Okay, I know what I'm doing, but it's fine. So while the new position is less than 0, we can't have that. So we're going to add 100. And while new position is greater than 99, I guess we can do greater than or equal to 100. Looks cleaner. Then we'll go new position minus equals 100. And then we can write, say, position equals new position. And if position is equal to 0, then we're going to tick. All right. Let's try that again. Give me a 3. All right, I got a 3. Let's check those numbers. Got 82, 52, 0, 95, 55. That is looking correct. So let me get my proper puzzle input. Call it txt. Save that. All right, let's try this with the real input and see what happens. $964. Back to the page. Was that it? That's the right answer. All right, part 2. Cool. I was thoroughly expecting the real puzzle input to prove me wrong. All right. Let's try part 2. All right, so you're sure that's the right password, but the door won't open. You knock, nobody answers. And I build a snowman. All right. While you're rolling in the snowballs for your snowman, you find another security document that must have fallen into the snow. Due to newer security protocols, please use password method, a bunch of hex until further notice. You remember from the training seminar that means you're actually supposed to count the number of times any click causes the dial to point at 0, regardless of whether it happens during a rotation or at the end of one. Okay, so if it passes or lands on 0, then we need to count that. Following the same rotations as in the example above. All right. So let's copy our code to part 2, because we're probably going to break it. Okay, so if it passes 0, we're going to tick. And if it lands on 0, we're going to tick. But we're probably not going to want to double count it. So if it lands on 0, or if it lands on 0, you don't want that to be considered passing 0 or, okay. All right, I think I get it. So can we just put it in the while loop? Do a tick in the while loops. So we say anytime the new position is less than 0, that means we crossed the boundary to the left, probably, right? And so we need to add 100. Let's do tick ++ here. Yeah, I'll be honest, Josh. I did catch that in the YSAP stream where he's doing this in Bash. So, like I said, I cheated on this one and had a little extra information. All right, so tick ++. I'm positive I would have made the same mistake. All right, so in this case, we could tick like 0 or more times, but then once we get down to here and check the landing position, we are also gonna tick. We need to not tick here if we ticked up here. Let's do this. Ticks equals 0. And we'll do ticks ++. I don't like how I'm reusing this variable name. Zeros. Sure, let's do that. Zeros, and we'll do zeros ++. Zeros ++. And then if position is equal to 0, and so if we directly land on 0 without going through one of those while loops to normalize that number, then we still want to tick, but we don't want to tick if, all right, so if position is equal to 0 and zeros is greater than 0, that just sounds ridiculous. All right, then we can do zeros ++, and then we can, I'm going to rename tick to ticks. Okay, and we'll do ticks plus equals zeros. So this zeros variable could potentially be 0, or it could be some other number. I think maybe that'll work. Let's find out. Let's do part 1, or no, part 2 on, I'm gonna rename sample input. Part 1 - sample txt. And I don't want this verbose right now. It says 7. It's supposed to be 6. All right, so let's do a little debugging. We'll compare with the website here. So the dial starts by pointing at 50. Dial is rotated. It points at 0 once. Oh, I should probably, I don't need to know the positions. I need to know. Right, verbose. Get rid of that one. go. I need to know I passed 0 on. All right, so this is telling me that I pointed at 0 once. So I want to know how many times I pointed at 0 on any given pass, and the pass, the position I landed on probably. All right, so. All right, position equals new position, and then we'll also do right verbose. Distance. And all right, so we passed 0 and then logged that we went -68 and passed 0 once. So yeah, we did -68, passed 0 once, and then we went -30, did not pass 0, and then we passed 0 when we went 48, R48, and we landed on 0. Did I... What am I doing wrong there? So I set zeros to 0. Twin plus plus. Position equals 0 and 0 is greater than 0. 0 is plus plus. All right, let me look at my verbose log here again. So we passed 0. When we went -68, we can see that we did it once, and then we did -30, we did not pass 0, and we went +48, and it says we passed 0 2 times. So when we went right 48, okay, so we went right 48, and that would have landed us on 0. Let's go up here. So new position is position plus 48. So new position is now 0, while new position is less than 0. But it's not. Right? And then new position. It's 0. Oh, wait. This needs to be an equals to, huh? I'll also include the position in the output. Yeah. All right, if position position is equal to 0 and zeros. Okay. Yeah, I think this is where my error is. So after we've moved, we have this number that was incremented if we passed the 0 tick at any point. So this we shouldn't get a tick if, let's see, let's say we have a negative number. Let's say we have a negative number such that when we add 100 to it, what if it's negative 99? So if it's negative 99, new position is less than 0, and we're going to add 100 to it, and that's going to bring it to would it be 98 then? No. Yeah, there's no number where we add 100 to it and we get to 0. What if it's on 0? No, okay. So if the position is 0, yeah, this is where these problems always mess with my head. Let's see what this looks like. Yep, very wrong. So position is equal to 0. That means we landed directly on it, or we passed it and eventually landed on it. Could be that. All right, does that make any sense? If position is 0 and zeros is also 0, meaning we never passed the 0 boundary, then we increment, I think. That makes sense. Still wrong. Be careful, if the dial were pointing at 50, a single rotation like 1,000 would cause the dial to point at 0 10 times before returning back to 50. Yeah, I think that's just describing that we need to be sure to handle the large numbers. Some verbose output. Okay, so on L68, we did pass 0. We moved a distance of negative 68 and passed 0 one time. And we should probably include the position, distance, new position. Okay, L68, distance was minus 68, new position is, I guess that's redundant. We don't really need that. New position is 82, and we pass 0 one time. And then we did L30. New position is 52, pass it 0, and then we did. So we were on 52. We added 48. And that was considered passing 0. I think that's right. So L68 points at 0 once, L30, and then 48. Yep. Then L5 to 95. Yes. That says it passed 0, but it... All right. So we were at 0. Oh, if we're on 0, then we minus a number. We didn't pass 0 because we want to only count when we click to 0. But if we land on 0 and then on the next turn we move in a negative direction, then it's going to be okay. I think I get it now. Famous last words. Hi, Dave. Hi, Dave. Josh has been offering some tips. Oh. So I don't make too much of a fool of myself. All right. This distance can go away because it's going to say L or R and then the number, so that's fine. All right. So if the number is 0, all right. So when I get here, if the new position, so if I started at 0 and subtracted, then this is going to consider this a tick, even if I just go back 5 from 0, and I don't want that. So while I'm going to say position is not equal to 0, and new position is less than 0, then we will, oh wait, I don't want to put that logic there because I still want it to normalize the numbers. So I will do zeros plus plus only if that's all right. Get some work done. Curious, can you guys hear my music in the background? Or is that super quiet? I can't really tell. All right, so if position is equal to 0, not equal to 0. Okay, good. Yeah, I didn't want it to be loud or distracting, just something to fill the silence while I'm trying to use my noodle brain. All right, so if the position is not 0, then we'll do an increment of the number of zeros that we have landed on. Is that gonna work? Do we need to do that in a positive direction? Let's say we're at 99. No, we're at 0, and then we add 100. That's gonna put us at 100 in our new position, and that's greater than 100, so we're going to, yeah. We landed on 0 in this case, so we want that. All right. All right. Let's see if this works. I think maybe it'll work now. sample input. All right, number is 6, and I think that's what we needed. Yep. Let's jump over here. It's supposed to be 6. So let's do it with the proper input and see if that worked. Oh, dang it. All right, back. Did something wrong. Take a look at this again. You're actually supposed to count the number of times any single click causes the dial to point at 0. All right, so when I was watching Weissap's stream where he's doing this in Bash, I think he was doing something similar to what I'm doing here, and then rewrote it to just do 1 click at a time and then handle the logic after that. I don't know if I need to do that or not, but I'm at the exact same problem that he landed on. All right, so if any individual click causes the dial to point at 0, regardless of whether it happens during a rotation or at the end. So let's just let's write some of this out. A multi-line comment in there. So let's say we are at 50, and then we go to 0, then that's a tick. If we are at 50 and we go to, we go right 51. No, let's do 250. Okay, so then we end up with 300, and that's more than 100, so then we start with 300 minus 100, and that gets us down to 200, and then that would be, we would pass 0 during that time. Does this? All right. If our new position is 0, I'm working on the second part of day 1. I started a little behind, so I did the first part, and now we're trying to get the password for the second part, and I'm struggling with this, I think, the same kind of problem that that Weissap did, where my logic around when to increment the number of times I hit 0 is got a flaw in it. And like I said, when I was watching him the other day, he ended up rewriting his part 2 to basically increment. So like if the distance you were moving was 50, you'd have like a for loop and process it each time. And if the new number for each tick was a 0, like it really simplified the logic, made it a little bit slower, but the logic was a lot easier to deal with. I'm gonna try not to do that, but we'll see. Can I do this in less than 10 minutes? We'll see. Yeah, I always start these problems thinking, oh man, that was easy on the first part. Like, and then the second part comes and you have to like totally rewrite your solution, and it just messes with your head. I don't know if it's helping or hurting me to have the font so big, but I want to have it legible on the stream, but I think part of it is that I don't see the whole thing in my head, like, or on the screen at the same time. In fact, maybe I'll just, I hide the terminal there. Yeah. Okay, from the top, we have our puzzle input. We're processing it one line at a time. We determine our direction as a -1 or a +1 based on whether it starts with an L or not. And then the distance, we grab the number out of that line and multiply it by the direction. And so then we get our distance. I don't have a particular limit. Like, I'm not going to bail at 8 o'clock unless my family needs me for something. So I'll probably just stay on for a little while until I get bored, or until you guys leave me. All right. So then we have a placeholder position. So our new position is the starting position plus the distance. And then we need to normalize the new position in case it's more than 99 or less than 0. We have our little counter for the number of times we have moved on or past the 0. All right. So then we start with our while loop. We have two while loops here. While new position is less than 0. A little verbose, so we passed it, and we add 100. So then if the position is not equal to 0, oh, that's okay. That's if the old position was not equal to 0. Then we do zeros plus plus. But what if, no? Oh, do we need to update position as we go? So we have new position as a placeholder, but we're not updating the real position until we get down there. So if all right, so we're going in a negative direction. If position, and position right now is going to be our original starting position. So if our starting position was 0 and we went backwards 5, then we didn't we didn't tick on 0 in this turn. We started on 0. And so we wouldn't want to count that. But if position was 0 and we went backwards 100, we would be -100, and then we'd plus 100, and we'd be 0. And we should count that. And I don't think we're counting that here. All right, so if position, our original starting position is not equal to 0, should I even bother doing that? All right. We want to know if we pass or land on 0. Maybe I'll just change this and I'll just say these get so finicky. All right, so input. need to count when we take. Maybe I'll just do the same thing again. So our distance. Let me do let's try a for loop. Let's see. Pause equals position. Why do that? We can just do position. In fact, we'll just leave this empty. Yeah, so in a for loop, it has. Why is this for loop so broken? Oh, that's why. So it's got 3 sections here. We can, but it's optional. I think they're all optional. So we can set our initial value, but we don't need to because we're just going to use position. And then we're going to say while position. While position. We're going to say while distance. Yeah. Tests are important in production code. It helps just gives you the confidence to make changes, knowing that if you break something, it'll get caught. I mean, assuming you have the right tests. All right, we're going to do distance. While distance is greater than 0, that means we need to move. And we'll do distance plus equals direction. And I think I need to reverse those possibly. While distance. So what is this going to be in practice? So if we start at 50, position is 50, and we turn to the right, that's going to be a positive number, a positive 1. So let's say we turn to the right 50, then while distance is greater than 0, and we know that it is. Oh, but this can be a negative number. So I'm going to take that off. And we'll do, all right, so if we're going positive 50 from 50, we're going to hit 100. And we want to go until do 4 distance. Position. Does this get evaluated every time? If we were to say go until position is position plus distance times direction. Destination equals distance times direction. Oh, damn it. Because that's going to... Blah. All right. Maybe I'll do a while loop. While distance is greater than 0. So distance is going to, let's say it's going to be the absolute number of ticks that we're going to make. And then we do distance minus minus. All right, so we move down 1. And then we'll do position equals position plus correction. Okay. So then we're going to move one at a time. And then this is the point where we have made a tick. We've moved on the dial, and we need to check if we landed or passed 0, or I guess if position is equal to 0 at the moment. But it won't be 0 if we have gone above. All right. So we can do our normalization here. While position, I don't need to do a while because I'm only moving one at a time. No, I don't want to do that here, do I? If position is greater than, it's greater than 99. Just do if it's equal to 100, huh? So I'm only moving one tick at a time. So if it's equal to 100, position equals 0. Else, if position is equal to -1. All right, see you, Josh. Thanks for hanging out. All right, so if the position is equal to -1, that means we've gone backwards past 0, and we need to set it to 99. That's better. And then we can check if position is equal to 0. We could still be turning, or we might be stopping on the number. It doesn't matter though. We have ticked onto 0, so we'll do ticks ++, and I'll just delete this because it's garbage. Yeah. All right. Let's do the sample input, and we still have 6. Let's do the real input. 5872. Don't remember what it said last time. Cross my fingers. Yay. Took me long enough. All right. So that is the first day of Advent of Code. Return to the calendar. I got my 2 stars. And I'm not going to start this just yet. But maybe I will. What do we got hanging out? Looks like there's 4 people. Thank you for coming. Watching me make a fool of myself. Hopefully the audio and the screen is legible and all that fun stuff. You know, I like modulo, but maybe I'm not confident enough to try that while other people are watching me. It does seem to that would make a lot of sense to use modulo. Yeah, that makes sense. Because let me go over here. We can do the same thing. So -3. Is it? Crap. It's been a while since I've used modulo. Is it percent in PowerShell? It should be 100. There we go. So -3 modulo 100 is minus. Oh, it doesn't turn it into 97. Let's see. said that we were going to do PowerShell, but we could do Python too. Can I even do this in? Interesting. All right. What if I do 100 modulo minus 3 in Python? That gives me a -2. How do you exit Python? I never use Python. There we go. All right. Why? I don't like that we get completely different numbers in Python and PowerShell. What? Is it because you're not supposed to use negative numbers or something with modulo? What? Normally I just use modulo to like sit even or odd or something. So if we do 1 mod 2, then we have a remainder. If we do 4 mod 2, there's no remainder, so it should be 0. If we do a negative number, it's still 0. I don't know enough about the modulo operator to understand why there's a difference there. Well, now I'm curious. What the heck? Python modulo difference. I don't know. Or implementation. There we go. C and Python, different behavior with the modulo operator. Both variants are correct. However, in mathematics, Python's modulo is most commonly used. So supposedly Python's implementation is like the better one. So in C, you would do n mod m plus m mod m. So -1 mod 10 plus 10 mod 10. What? No, I still don't know. And I'm not doing Python today. That's cool though. That's cool that that actually worked out in Python. All right. Maybe I will start digging into day 2. Let's create a new folder here. New folder 25 or 25-2. Part 1. Okay. Let's hide terminal and come over here. All right, so you get inside the elevator, take the elevator to its only other stop, the gift shop. Thank you for visiting the North Pole. One of the younger elves was playing on a gift shop computer. Oh man, it's too late in the evening for me to do that kind of math. I can't do that right now. And this is why I'll never be like a high-end C programmer or something. As it turns out, one of the younger elves was playing on a gift shop computer and managed to add a whole bunch of invalid product IDs to their gift shop database. Are we going to do a little regex maybe? They've even checked most of the product ID ranges. They only have a few product ID ranges. Okay, so I guess this is our puzzle input, sample input. Let's get that down. Part 1 sample.txt. All right, so I guess our input is going to potentially be multiple lines, comma separated ranges. Okay. The ID ranges are wrapped here for legibility. In your input, they appear. Oh, okay. So they will be on a single line in the input. All right. So let's put this all on a single line. There we go. Close that. Let me close our other scripts here. All right, so the ID ranges are separated by commas. Each range gives its first ID and last ID separated by a dash. I'm assuming they're going to try to trick us by having like the larger number first sometimes. So we'll have to look out for that. Since the young elf was just doing silly patterns, you can find the invalid IDs by looking for any ID which is made only of some sequence of digits repeated twice. So, come on. So 55 is 5 twice, 64 is 64 twice, and 123 is 123 twice. That's am I dead on this in day 2? None of the numbers have leading zeros, so 0, 1 isn't a valid ID at all. Okay, so we're looking for we want to ignore any ranges or any numbers that start with 0 or have any number of repeating characters in them. So find all the invalid IDs that appear in the given ranges. So in our sample input, 11 to 22 has 2 invalid IDs because we have 1 is repeated and then 2 is repeated. Okay. This has 1 invalid ID. Okay. 998. Oh, okay. And we're also looking at actual numbers in the range to see if they have repeating numbers. Great. So we need to process the first number and then keep incrementing until we get to the last number and count the invalid IDs. The rest of the ranges contain no invalid IDs. Adding up all the invalid IDs in this example produces this number. Okay. Oh, geez. Put that in there. Let me grab my little param block from over here so I can point to our puzzle input. Okay. And I think I will split puzzle input vertically to the side. Here. All right. So we have our input. We'll say lines equal get content. Puzzle input. And then we will split on the commas, split on the comma, and then let's do for each object. I'm just going to call this ranges. So we'll do ranges equals get content. We'll grab our puzzle input, split it on the commas, and then $_ is going to represent a number like this inside this for each. And so we'll say PS custom object Start equals, and we're going to do parts equals $under split split on the dash. And start is going to be parts 0, and end will be parts 1. Okay. So that's going to give us our ranges as a PS custom object with a start and end value. And I'm going to make sure that's aligned so that I feel better. Let's just split the ranges out and see what they look like. Bring our terminal back. And part 1. Oh, part 1 sample. That's what I like about Advent of Code is that, like, by just going through the logic of it, like, you can use whatever language you want, and then, you know, like, you can use relatively simple features of any given language to solve the puzzles. The harder part is just the puzzle itself and knowing what logic you need. But I definitely watched a few streams on PowerShell, doing Advent of Code years ago, other people doing it. Same with like Python, and I don't remember if I've seen somebody do C#, but yeah, people use all kinds of languages. It's kind of nice to see how the same problem gets solved in multiple languages. That's a common strategy for somebody learning a new language too, is when they're familiar with, you know, they've built stuff using a different language and they understand that language really well, then try to recreate that thing that they made in the new language, you know, one bit at a time, and then you start to get a better understanding of the new one. All right, so we have our puzzle input, the sample input, and so now we need the logic of like processing each number and then deciding if it's invalid. So I think I'll write a function for that. Put that up here. I'm gonna move my sample insert down there. All right. So function test. Is it product number? Invalid IDs. Product ID. Yeah, product ID. Test product ID. We'll maintain our PowerShell verb-noun syntax, and we'll do a param block and have parameter mandatory. It's going to be an integer, and we'll call it ID. All right, what are the rules? So if ID is equal to 0, nope, not equal to. Oh, you know what? I need to be cautious, or I need to treat these as strings before converting them to numbers and then like incrementing through the ranges to find all the numbers in between, because some of them might start with a 0, but if I convert them to integers, they're not going to be. But okay, I didn't do any conversions, so they're still strings. when they're in this ranges variable. Cool. So I need to do string product ID. Now, if ID match, and I love doing simple regex stuff, so the symbol will mark the beginning of a line or a string, and so I'll say if ID starts with a 0, then we're going to return false. Okay. Then we'll convert ID to a number. I'm not doing any error checking here right now. Like potentially the ID could have non-decimal, like it could have letters in it. And then that would throw an error. So, but I'm not going to test for that yet. So we have our ID number, and now we need to, should I even convert it to a number yet? I need to look for patterns. So a repeating pattern. So what's that algorithm going to be? I need to look at, for example, with the 11, I start at looking at a string with length 1. So I just grab one character and then see if the next character matches and do that all the way across. So for example, here, I only really need to find the first error, right? Like the ID number is going to be invalid. We don't need to know how many times it was invalid. So I would start with, let's go with a different one. Yeah, this one here. So if I were to do, let's see, it did go up to, like, start with string lengths of 1 and check for repeating characters or repeating strings, one character at a time. And so then I would do 1, and then this is not a 1, that's fine. Then I'd look at this, and that's not a 6. And eventually I'd get to the 2 and see that that's a 2. And then I would be done. But if I wasn't, like if this was a 3, then I'd do 2 numbers and then check to see if the next 2 numbers match. And then the next 2 numbers, and then I don't have enough numbers to check, so I would need to watch out for that. I bet you there's like a ridiculously simple way to do this, but like only a certain kind of brain's gonna see it. And I don't have one of those. All right. But like there's no point in checking for, in this case, like using a string length of 5, because that's more than half of the string length and we would never find a match. So we would want to stop at half, rounded down, right? Yeah. Okay. Let's get rid of that. Max segment length, and that's going to be, I'm going to use a .NET. I'll do math. How much do you care about spoilers? I don't really care. Like I'm not competing with anybody, and it's not gonna ruin my day. system dot math what was the when you either go down or up? I know round, but there was another one. Base? Floor. That's right. Do I want floor? So floor is 2.5, or if I do floor 2.5, that gives me 2, which is what I want. And if it's 6, yep, stays at 6. So I'll do the length of the string divided by 2 and get the floor of that to round down. id.length divided by 2. It's not about repeating characters like the entire thing. 586. 586, okay. I thought I understood that, but maybe I didn't. Let me go back up here, or we'll just go back to the input here. So this has 2 invalid IDs, 11 and 22, because and the invalid IDs, the ID is just made only of some sequence of digits repeated twice. So 55 is 5 twice. Okay. 64 is 64 twice. Okay. Okay. So what you're saying is if it has an even number of characters and I split that string in half and the 2 halves are equal, then it's invalid. So we don't care if, okay. I'm hoping that's right, because that's a hell of a lot easier. Jesus. Let's get rid of that terminal. There we go. Thank you, Anonymous. I really appreciate that, because that sounds way easier to do. Dang. All right, so in that case, I'm going to do if id.length is mod 2 is not equal to 0. Oops. Greater than 0. All right. So if the length mod 2, if it's an odd number, if the length is, if it's an odd number, then we can't split the string in 2, so it's going to be valid. So true. Product ID is valid. If ID length mod 2, if it's greater than 0, it's not valid. So we'll say false. Else if ID matches and it starts with a 0, then it's not valid. Get rid of that garbage. All right. And I'm just going to throw a true at the bottom here. So I'm just going to have this gross if-else tree. All right. So if it's an odd number, it's invalid. or no. God. All right. If it's an odd number, it's going to be valid because it won't have any repeating characters, but that's not true if it starts with a 0, so I need to put that at the top. So if it starts with 0, it's not true, or it's not valid. If the length mod 2 is greater than 0, so it's an odd number, then it is valid because it won't have a repeating. If I split the string in 2, it won't be repeating characters. And then else, and I'll do some stuff in here. And I normally don't use return in like return with a value in PowerShell, but I'm gonna do that here because I want to just not think about if I haven't exited there. Okay, so those are the simple cases, and the product ID is not valid if it starts with a 0, and it is valid if it's an odd number, or if the length is an odd number. Cool. Now we can do part 1. Well, let me just say like S1, comma S2 equals ID, and then I can do. I don't usually manipulate strings this way. Let's bring my terminal back up. I want to check something. So if I have a one, two, three, four, five, six. If I do x0 to x dot length divided by 2. So I could do a string new, and I have an array of chars. There we go. And I'll just do this on 2 lines. So S1 is string new, and then I'll take the ID and we'll go 0 to the length. So if it's 4, then we're going to 2. But I don't want to do that. I want to go to -1, right? That was 1, 2, 3, 4. X dot length. Yeah, so that went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I would want this to go to 1, 2, 3. Okay. And S2 is X isn't a real number in this case. ID, or a real string, I mean. I'll grab that. All right, so we're creating 2 strings that are the 2 halves of the input string. We know it's an even number because, or the length of the string is an even number because if it wasn't, we would have returned already. And so S1 is going to be, and this is a fun feature of PowerShell where we can use the indexer and then use a expression in the indexer, so we can just grab everything from 0 to whatever this number ends up being, and then it's going to give us an array of characters, not strings, and then we use string.new to take those characters and turn them into a string. I could also use substring, so s1 equals id dot substring, and that seems like the better way to do it. Why would I do it the other way? So we'll do substring 0 with a length of that. That is a lot cleaner. S2 equals, and we're going to do that. We can call substring with one number, and it's going to create a string starting at that index and going to the end. Oh, all right. So substrings, or the substring function or method, is just a way to grab part of a string. So if we have the string x is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I do x dot substring, now when you look at this dot substring, we are calling a method on a string object in PowerShell. So if you look at a string object called getMember, so we can see that it's of type system.string, and it has all of these different methods, because strings have a bunch of methods in .NET. And if we look at substring, let me look at the definition for that. So name substring, and then I'll select definition. There we go. So substring is going to return a string, and it accepts an argument of type integer using a start index. So that's one of the overloads for this substring function. You can also call it with two numbers and provide a start index and also a length to grab out of the string. And then it'll just return that segment of the string as a new string. So if I do, let me clear the host here. If I do x.substring and I just do 0, it's going to give me the whole string because I'm starting at index 0. If I do comma 3, then it's going to start at 0 and give me 3 characters. It's not going to go to index number 3. It's going to grab 3 characters. See you, Dave. Thanks for keeping me company. There you go. So x.substring. Yeah, same thing as string slicing in Python. Yep. So what I was doing before, and that was like the hard way to do it, was, I don't even remember. I deleted it, didn't I? So I was doing, so I used the index notation. So if I do 0 ... 2, that's going to start at index 0 and go to index 2. And so it's going to give me 3 of the characters out of the string. And my terminal keeps doing weird stuff. Here we go. But notice that each one of the characters is on its own line. And the reason for that is that they're coming out as individual character objects rather than string objects. So we do getMember on the output of this. So instead of a system.string, it's a system.char. And so we're just grabbing each individual character out of that string. And like we can do that, and you can put them back together in a string. Because if we do, so PowerShell lets you treat a string as a list of characters if you really want it to. And so if we wanted to turn a list of characters into a string, the string class, and in PowerShell, when you're like just getting started, you don't normally do this notation very much because it's funky. This is a type So system.string, the system namespace is automatically, like there's a using statement implicitly in PowerShell. So we don't have to type system.string, we can just use string. And when we put it in the square brackets there, then we are accessing, when we put this double colon at the end, I can hit control space and get a list of all of the properties and methods that are available, like the static properties and methods that are available on that type. And so I can do any of these, or I can do new. And I want new to show me the overloads, and it's not because my font is so big. There we go. So there's a whole bunch of different ways you can use new, but right here you can see we can give it a car array, and then it'll just spit a string out. All right. So yeah, S1 is going to be the substring of 0 with a length of the original string divided by 2, and then we're going to create S2 starting at that position. And then we don't have to put a second number because it's assumed that you're going to take the rest of the characters. And then we can do, we can just return S1 is not equal to S2. Now this is case insensitive. If we wanted to be case sensitive, we could do C any. So case case sensitive not equal to, but I don't think we need to do that because supposedly we should only have numbers. So if S1 is not equal to S2, then it's valid. So this should return true. But if they are equal, this will return false, and our test product ID would tell us it's a bad number. All right, so let's test a few numbers with this little function. I'm gonna hit F8 and load that function into my terminal down here. Then I can do test product, if I spell it right, product ID, and give it an ID. Let's give it 12. That's valid. Okay. Give it 11. That's not valid. 1111 is not valid. 1112 is. What if I have 11, 5, 6, 7, 8? That is valid because this half doesn't equal this half. All right. So that seems to be working. If you're not pulling my leg, and that's the way the logic is supposed to work. All right, so we have our param block at the top so that our script can accept parameters, and our parameter is going to be the puzzle input. We have a function defined. I'm just going to collapse that. We have our test product ID function defined here so that we don't have a whole bunch of logic down here while we're processing these numbers. Okay. So we have this ranges variable, and we need to test every number in all of the ranges. And right now I'm just going to assume that the start number is always going to be lower than the end number, and then we'll deal with it if that's not true. So I'm going to say, let's try a different for each here. We'll do for each range in ranges. And let's see. I need to go back to here to figure out what I was going to do. All right, so we're counting all of the invalid IDs. So invalid ID count equals 0, and I'm just using super verbose variables because there's no limit, practical limit to the variable name length. All right. So range.start is going to be a string. But it's also a number. So we want to test each number before converting it, or each string before converting it to a number. Okay. For each range in ranges, and then we can do for each We'll do product ID in so I want to, maybe I'll create another function here. Function get product ID range. I'll just call it range. Get range. Parameter. And it's going to be a string. No, it's going to be a PS custom object. I could just call it a dot object, but in fact I will, because that's too many characters. There we go. Range. Get range. What am I expecting this to do for me again? So for each product ID in, okay, I want it to give me an array of numbers. So just give me a list of numbers. That's fine. Then I'll do start equals range dot start as integer. Want that. That'll do null if it's not a number, so I'll do int range dot start. That way it'll throw an error if it's not a number. And end is dot end, right? And then I can do start dot dot end, and that'll just spit out an array of numbers starting from start and going to end. Cool. So for each product ID in range, get range. That seems redundant, but oh well. What happens if I have a string starting with a 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, and I use the type accelerator to cast that as an integer? Good. It's not going to give me an error. So for each product ID in range, so first off, if test, I'm going to check for zeros in the first or last, the leading character of the first and last number in the range. So if test product ID, and I'm going to make that if not test product ID, then invalid ID count plus plus, and continue, and I'll go back to the top of the for each and grab the next range. So we're going to do if product ID is not valid, and we're going to do ID range dot start, or not. You can also do dash not, but when I'm doing dash or and all that, I feel like it's easier for me to read if I do the exclamation mark. Test product ID dash ID range dot end. Okay, so if this is true, so if not valid is true, or if not valid is true, then we're going to invalid count and continue. All right. No. Let's see. I would only want to ignore the first number. Do we ignore the whole range if one of the numbers starts with a 0? Go back to where none of the numbers have leading zeros. It's not an ID. 101 is a valid ID that you would ignore. So the question is, if we have a number that we have a range where the leading number starts with a 0, do we ignore the whole range or just that ID number? We probably just had ID number, huh? Probably. So let's get that range. Oh, another puzzle error. You add the invalid IDs. Oh, okay. Fixing my mistakes before I make them. Appreciate it. Find all the invalid IDs that appear in the given ranges, adding up all the invalid IDs. Yeah, okay. We're not counting the invalid IDs, we're adding them up. Oh, and so we're adding the invalid IDs. So if it starts with a 0, we still want to convert it to an integer and add it to our tracker. Okay. Invalid ID sum 0. All right, so we're going to go through all the ranges and maybe I'll do the test for the leading 0 down here instead of in my test product ID function. So if I do it that way, I can just assume I still want to treat it as a string, okay? But yeah, we're just testing string parts of it, we're not dealing with numbers here. So yeah, I think I'll get rid of that test. And I can do if let's see. So I want to look at the range.start. If it matches a leading 0, so if range.start match leading 0, then I'm going to do invalid ID sum plus equals int range.start and pardon me. And then I'm going to say range.start equals all right, so if the start matches 0, I'm going to convert it to a integer and grab that in a variable. I'm going to add that to the invalid ID sum, and then I'm going to say the new start is start plus 1. Yeah. Okay. And then we'll do the same for end. Okay, so if range.end starts with the leading 0, then we're going to say end equals range.end, invalidity sum plus equals end, range.end is end minus 1. Okay, and then I'll do if range.start is equal to range.end, continue. All right, all that's done. Now we know that the first number of the range and the last number of the range don't have leading zeros, and they are not the same as each other. We don't necessarily know if the second number is smaller than the first number, but if I run into an error, then we'll fix it. So for each product ID in the range, it's going to give us an array of numbers, and then we can do if test product ID product ID. If it's valid, then we ignore it. We'll just do a continue. If it's not valid, then we'll do invalid ID sum plus equals product ID, and then we spit out invalid ID sum. Let's see, we do have a problem. Oh, that's just a spelling plugin. PS custom object. Yeah, I spelled that right. We'll go ahead and quick fix add to my dictionary. There we go. It's not it's a VS Code spelling, like spell check plugin that's not PowerShell specific. So, yeah, let's run it, see what happens. That terminal and part 1, puzzle input, and I got an error, cool. Oh, that's right. So I didn't write the get range function to support pipeline input, but that's a simple change. So I'll go up to my get range function and I'll say parameter from crap, it's been a while since I wrote. There we go, value from pipeline. Try that again. Does that match? 122 777 555 122 777 555. Okay, let's get the puzzle input and copy that. Part 1 dot text. Okay. All right. Cool. So we have some numbers that are too big to be handled as a 32-bit integer, and we need to make it, we need to treat them as longs. So that's easy enough. I'll just replace Control H, and we'll do replace all int with long. Was that enough? Okay. Oh, I still have an int that I'm dealing with on somewhere. Valid ID. All right, so I need to change this to a long as well. All right. Start dot end. And that was start equals. Can I only use long range.start. I only use this notation when the numbers are, let's do int max value. Okay, we'll do one more than that, two more than that. All right. So it appears I've never run into that issue before in PowerShell, but that array notation does not support the use of longs. So that's cool. That's fine though. We can just do for we can just do start. Well, I is then end. Rigs go start while I is less than or equal to end. I is plus, and then spit I out. Did I do that right? So we assign the value of start to I, and then we do while we keep going while I is less than or equal to the end value, and then we increment it by 1. Yeah, that should do it. Here 903. Yeah, I'll probably be. Did I not? Oh yeah, there it is. Okay. Let's cross our fingers that that's the right number, and if it is, woohoo! All right, 1 gold star. I will look at part 2, but it is 9 o'clock here, and I'll spend the last remaining time in the evening with my family here. But let me look at part 2 problem. So part 2, there's still invalid IDs in the list. Maybe they were doing other silly patterns as well. Now an ID is valid if it's made only of some sequence of digits repeated at least twice. Okay, so this is where part 2 is where I have to do that more complex logic that I was thinking I had to do, huh? Hey, what's up? Thanks for... Are you going to bed? Okay. Thank you for the hug. All right. Yeah, that's that more complex logic. So I need to look for repeated characters that are at least 2 characters long. Or no. Now an ID is valid is made only of some sequence of digits repeated at least twice. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is repeated twice. 1, 2, 3 is 3 times. 12 is 5 times, and 1, yeah. So look at starting at. Great. Yeah, I'll do that tomorrow maybe. So from the sample as before, that now has 2 invalid IDs, 99 and 11. Okay. Maybe let's get started a little bit. All right, so our test, we're not counting the number of errors, so we can still just test the product ID And we can do if S1 is equal to S2, return false. And now we have that more complex logic, where we need to break the string down into between 1 and up to, well, I guess we know that it's an odd number. Oh, if it's an odd number, it's not necessarily valid anymore. So we have to be aware of that. So now I can just get rid of that check. Okay. Do I even bother doing that anymore then? Probably not. Just comment that out for now. And what I did do before, all right, so id dot length divided by 2. So if the length is, say, 6 and we divide it by 2, that'll be 3. And then our min length equals 1. Max length equals the floor of that. I forget if I need to wrap that expression in parentheses. Nope, I don't. So min length is 1, max length is half or less than half of the string length. And do 4. Let's see. Length equals min length. While length is less than or equal to max length. Length plus plus. Okay. Then we can do. We also have to go through each position. So for pause for position, so we need to look at the string position that we're checking at any given time. So pause equals 0. I'll pause. Let's see. While it is less than, I'm gonna do id dot length. Pause is minus length, something like that. Pause plus plus. Okay, so game that out. If it's a string length of 6 characters, and length is 3, then our position is going to be 0, and while position is less than 6 minus 3, we do, yeah, that should be fine. And then the characters, do they have to be repeated side by side, or can they can the repetitions be anywhere in the string? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. No, they have to be adjacent to each other. Some sequence of digits repeated at least twice. Okay. And then as soon as we run into an invalid ID, then we can report it as invalid and break away. So we can just do a return false when we find one. So let's do S1 equals, and then we'll grab ID.substring position, comma, length. Yeah, that's pretty easy. S2 equals ID.substring, and then we'll do position plus length, comma, length. So if our position is 2, that is going to be less than 3, and so if our position is 2, we're going to grab I think it might work. And then if S1 is equal to S2, return false. And if we get through all of the checks, then we can do a true at the end. I don't know. Let's test the new function. Test product ID. So if we have that should be invalid. So return false. That's what we wanted. If it's 12, it should be true. If it's 1, 2, 1, it should be valid. If it's 1, 2, 1, 2, it should be false. All right. Let's check a couple of the other ones here. Oops. All right. Index and length must refer to a location within the string. Screwed up there. So let's go to that line. That's where I'm assigning the value of S2. All right. So S1 is easy. That's the current position starting from 0 going to like half-ish of the string. So right, verbose, length, testing, that. Okay. Right. Verbose. This one. Can I test 12, 12, 5? Okay. 12, 12, 5. Not valid. And that should be right? It shouldn't be a valid ID because of the repeating 12s for part 2. Yes. 2. Okay, so when I tested this, it pitched a fit. Let's try again. Oh, I need to reload that function. So just because this is sitting in my editor doesn't mean my terminal knows about it. I have modified it, so I'll hit F8, which is basically just copying and pasting that function down below so that I can use it down here. Okay. Dash verbose. Okay, so testing length 1, S1 is 1, S2 is 2, and S1 is 2, S3 is 3, so that's good so far. S1 is 12, S2 is 3, 4. Then I get to S1 is 2, 3. Okay, so S2 would be trying to grab one character more than is available, which means I need to change this. ID length minus that again, because it seemed to work for other patterns, but it's trying to test a length of 2. It's getting to the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th position on an 8. Okay. There's 7 there. So I need to take into account the length that I'm testing. So length equals min length, while length is less than or equal to max length. I keep increasing that. That's fine, I think. And then position is 0, while position is less than. ID.length minus length. So in this case, that was an 8 character. So while position is less than 8 minus, in this case, it would have been 2. Position is less than 6. Going. So if position is 6, that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I shouldn't be trying to grab. Okay. Close. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do the debugger because I just find it a lot easier to step through it. So let's enter an interactive session. CD 25.2, and we'll do part 1 input, and we have set a breakpoint, so oh nope, I don't want to run that against the floor. Nope, I wanted to get the error message, so I'll do want to debug this function, but this is a function that's embedded in my test. I'm just going to move this to another file here. And I'll call test product ID at the end with ID 1234, 1234. And I'll set a breakpoint. Okay, so now we can F10 through it. And I can see the length is 1 right now. The max length is 4, which should be right. Position 0. And we'll wait until S1 and S2 are 2-digit characters, 2-digit strings. I think maybe my variables weren't updating fast enough down there. Continue. Set a breakpoint again. I'm going to do error action preference equals stop. And that just tells PowerShell, don't just try to power through it when you see an error, like actually stop, because we shouldn't keep going. There we go. I have a breakpoint set again. And I think I can do a condition on my breakpoint. So let's do edit condition, and when length is equal to 2, greater than equal to 2, and pause is greater than, say, 3. Run. Nope. Length is greater than 2, greater than equal to, and position. I am not hitting my breakpoint when I was thinking I would. Length is greater than equal to 2. And I was testing. I'll just put the breakpoint down here on S2. Save that. Clear. Test again. S2 is 1. F5. S1. Oh yeah, S2 isn't set yet, so all right, so S1 is 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then we shouldn't go again. We should go position 4. Yeah, we should have stopped. No, I guess not, because we're only checking one character against the next character, so that's fine. We should get to position 6, and we're checking against position 7, and then we should go back to position 0, and we're checking strings that are 2 characters long. So we checked 1, 2 against 2, 3, and then we checked 2, 3 against 3, 4, and then 3, 4 against 4, 1, 4, 1 against 1, 2, 1, 2 against 2, 3, and then it's supposed to stop, right? So we're at position 4. What's id.length? It's 8 minus length is 6. So while position is less than 6, zero, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we need to go minus Alrighty. If you're just joining me, I am on the second part of the second day of the Advent of Code. So the first part, I got a good tip from Anonymous that helped me not overthink the first part and save the overthinking for part 2. And so now I'm trying to figure out what to do with this mess of variables to make sure that I don't try to create a substring that goes off the end of the string as we increase the number of characters that we're trying to compare, like the number of concurrent characters we're trying to compare. All right. So right now I'm at a debug breakpoint, and the position within the string, and I'm using this number to test with right now. So we're at position 4, so starting at index 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're looking at 1, 2, and comparing it. We should be comparing it to 3, 4, and we are gonna do that. But the next time we come around and hit this breakpoint, it's going to try to do it anyway. It's going to try to compare 2, 3 to 4 and then nothing and throw an error. All right, so now I've run that breakpoint again, and we're looking at 2, 3, and we should have actually given up already because there aren't enough characters in the string to compare against. Move that over there. All right. So I need to break out if, let's see. If pause plus length. It's kind of dirty logic here. I'm pretty sure I should do something better here, but I'm just going to cheat and say if pause plus length is greater than, we're going to go with id.length minus 1. So if pause, so position is currently 5, and length is 2, so that's 7. And under this condition, we should not try to do a comparison. So if we look at our string 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 is equal to the length. Pause plus length is greater than or equal to length minus 1. Greater than equal to length, and we don't have to do the -1 garbage. Then we can do a continue. No, we do a break. And then go back to the outer loop. All right, let's see if I stop getting that error message. New error, substring. Cool. Our breakpoint in there again. Hey. Good. Love you. All right. If position plus length is greater than or equal to id.length, I think I had the debugger running still, or I was still at a breakpoint. Okay, so I'm still doing dumb stuff. All right, I need to visualize. So we're set that breakpoint again. And we'll run, and then 5 until we get length of 2 and position of 6. There we go. We're comparing 2, 3 against 3, 4. We're at position 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3. And this is where it should have broke. I really don't know how about that can only appear on large numbers and smaller ones. I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think because the pattern, the length of the, because of the length of the pattern, we didn't have to hit the end of the string last time, but now we do, and we're dealing with a length of greater than 1, and so my poor logic is not catching that in time. So right now, if I hit F5, it's going to hit the error because we haven't evaluated S2 yet, but we did evaluate S1. So S1 is 2, 3, and it's looking at this right here. We shouldn't have even got here because it's going to try to compare 2, 3 against 4 and the next number that isn't there. So if we look at position, what's my logic here? So if position plus length is 7, the length of the string is 8, so it's not greater than equal to, we need to do greater than equal to length minus 1, and try that. We continue, get the error message, and then try again. What am I doing? I feel dumb. That is the beauty of advent of code, is no matter how smart you think you are, you will feel dumb and you'll like it. All right. I'm gonna hit F5 a bunch of times until I get where I want it. Too many times. Okay, position is 2, 3, 4. Oh, what? Okay, so my bad logic has gotten me past 1 character strings and 2 character strings, and now it's failing on 3 character strings because I'm not considering the current length properly when I increment my positions. Let's say, all right. So I'm going through from strings of length 1. My solutions are fixed by the struct. Yeah, I know. My entire career in software development, when I run into these stupid off by 1 errors, like, I guess there's a reason. There's like probably an XKCD for that. There isn't there? I need a little break. XKCD off by 1. No, I want to go to the real XKCD site. Go. Anytime an integer is stored or read, its value is adjusted upward or downward by a random amount between 40 and 50. My new language almost completely eliminates off by 1 errors. Almost completely eliminates it by adding or subtracting a random number. Funny. Okay. Back to here. So I'm starting with min length of 1. Why do I have a min length of 1? I know min length is 1. Let's do length equals 1. All right, so length equals 1 to start with, and then while length is less than max length. That's where I think I need logic. I need pause equals 0. I'm just going to set that up here. Actually, I'm going to set it down here. Am I going to set it down there? What I want to do is look at the... Yeah, length is 1. Length is less than or equal to max length. But I need to do minus... Okay, so if length is 2, then I need to... No, I don't think I need to do that. The logic there is fine. Because we're going to test, but we need to limit the range of positions that we test against based on the current length. And I thought I was doing that, but I wasn't doing it properly, probably. That back here. So position starts at 0. And if we assume length is 2, position is less than id.length minus length. So we look at no. We need to do that? Yeah. We want to look at the full length of the string and test positions all the way across. So id.length, and in this test, it's 8 minus 2 and then position increment. Okay. So is that, do I need to do like a minus length minus 1? I don't think so, because it seemed to work fine. I don't want to do a minus 1 at all because this length is changing all the time. So I shouldn't do that. So id.length is 8 minus length 2 would be 6. So while position is less than 6, then keep going. But when position is 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that what I need to do? id.length minus 1? Probably not. I need to hit play here to get unpaused, and we'll test, and I'm still having a problem. Messages. All right. I have not done puzzles in a while. My brain feels like mush. And I've been at it since 7, so almost 3 hours. Probably call it a night soon. But man, I really want to. I feel like I'm stupid close to solving this one. So do this in my head. So we have position 1, 2, there's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we grab those characters. We shouldn't have done that because 5 plus length times 2. Is that what I want to do? While position is less than max. That was just in my head. All right. 5. So I want to grab the current length times 2 and add that to position. And if that's greater than the string, fail. So length times 2 position is less than length times 2, so that's going to be 4. Stop that. All right. Position equals 0, and then we're going to keep going until length times 2. So if it's 2, that's going to be 4 plus pause is greater than id.length, and I'm probably gonna have to throw a -1 in there at some point, or who knows. All right, let's try this again. Pause is the position of the first, and length tells, yeah, so pause is a position that I am in while evaluating the string. And length is how many characters to read and then compare to the adjacent characters. So when length is 1, it starts at 1, and position starts at 0, then I look at this character because it's a string of length of 1, and I compare that with this. But and then I do that again with the 2 and then the 3 all the way to the end, and then I go to a length of 2 and position 0 compared to the next 2 characters, and then I look at these 2 characters and compare with those 2. And what's happening is that when my length is greater than 1, I was hitting a length of 5, so 0, or a position of 5, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I was looking at this 2 and the 3 together, and then trying to compare it with the 4 and a character that doesn't exist. And what I needed to do was have a stop condition on my inner loop where if did I account for the 23? I have not accounted for the 23 because I was really, really hoping that we were only looking at adjacent duplicate characters. Because when I looked at this, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it said that 1, 2, 3, 4 2 times. Oh, my bad. Length equals 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did you account for the 2, 3? I don't even know at this point. Let me let's run this and see what happens. That returned true. And it shouldn't have. But it didn't give me an error this time. I don't know if that's better or worse. All right. Let's do... I can't do right verbose right now because... I don't need command binding because that's implicit. But I do need... here if I want to pass in the verbose. Okay, testing length 1, 2, 3, 4. I never entered the inner loop. All right, so length times 2. So 2 times 2 plus the position of 5 is 9. 9 is greater than 8. That needs to be a less than. Okay. So I tested length 2, S1 is 1, 2, and then 3, 4. Then I did a 2, 3. And a 4, 1, and then a 4, 1, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I did a 2, 3, 4, 1. Then a 3, 4, 1, 2, and a 4, 1, 2, 3. And then I stopped. That's exactly what I wanted. But my stop condition didn't allow me to actually test the length 4. There's that damn off by 1. So length, if length is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. I can do a less than or equal, I think. Nice. All right, what were you saying? You have been super helpful, Anonymous. If your position is 1 and length is 3, you might read S1 as 1, 2, 3 and S2. Well, if position is 1, then S1 is going to be 2, 3, 4. But I'm going to assume you meant position is 0. So if I read 1, 2, 3 and S2 as 4, 5, 6. S2 can never be 4. Well, in this string. Oh, I see. If we test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, let's test that. Okay, so that says it's valid, and it should be valid, right? I'm going to copy this function back to my part 2. Update that. And we'll do part 2 with the part 1 sample 33 ends in 60. Is that right? Nope, it's not even close. Let's go back and test this. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 is valid, but 1, 2, 1, 2 is not. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4 should be invalid as well. Cool. That's valid. All right. Look at, oh no, the pattern has to be repeated. Oh, really? You're right. Yeah, so this is the entire string. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 is the entire string. Okay. Yeah. So then I could do... Ugh. All right. So it takes up the entire string. So instead of this mess, I need to I can use max length still, because no matter what, I'm never going to test a substring of a product ID that's longer than half of the product ID. So I'll still use max length. And then I can do 4 length equals 1, we go. Length equals 1. Well, length is less than max length. So I'll keep doing this loop until it is max length. Then I'll break. Okay. And then I can say if length mod, nope. Yeah. Max length. And I can just do that. So if it's not 0, continue. Because did I do that right? Or do I need to do it the other way around? I think maybe the other way around. There. The worst part about being a programmer, I have logic in my head. Yeah. that is the art of programming is a lot of thinking, trying to translate a concept into step-by-step code. And it kind of reminds me of the experiment they do with grade schoolers, where they'll say, all right, write me the steps for making a peanut butter jelly sandwich. And you just, like, the teacher just like smashes the bread all over, spreads peanut butter on the wrong side of the bread or whatever. Like, you have to be so explicit about everything. And that's what this feels like. It feels like I might as well just have peanut butter all over my face. All right, max length. So if I had a character, if I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, my max length is going to be 4. And so then 4 mod 1 is going to be 0. So this won't be true, and I won't, I will test that, but I don't want to do, no, I want to do the length of the whole string, huh? Length is less than, yeah, well, it's less than max length. Then I can do id.length. In high school, I got my teacher to drop a glass jar of jam on the floor. Oh, that's fun. Like, was it one of those instruction things, and then you just tested your teacher? Like, will they actually do it? id.length mod length. So the length is 8. Love it. Pseudo accident. That's going to be 0 because there's no remainder. So I can split this up into groups of 1. And then that's also going to work because I can take an 8-character string and split it up into groups of 1. But if I do 3, then I have a remainder, so I can't test that one. But if my length is 4, then I can test that one. And then 4 is greater than or equal to max length. So then I would abort. Okay. Cool. All right, so if I have 8 divided by 1 gives me 8. I think you should only test primes to avoid repeats. Otherwise, 2 and 4 catch the same things. Oh, yeah, good point. Length 2. Well, if my length is 2, then I'm going, and we're looking at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then I'm going to be looking at, for repeating patterns of 12, 12, 12, 12. I'm looking for 4 repeating patterns. But if my length is 4, then I'm going to be looking for those. I'm incrementing length by 1 each time, and I just want to skip the lengths that I know I won't be able to split my string up into evenly, if that makes any sense. I think in my head that I'm going the right way, but if the past steady precedent, then I'm probably not. But yeah, so this is my little gate to say there's no point in even testing to look for strings like duplicates of that length, because that can't split the string. We can't split the string into even groups of that length. And then if I get past there, then I know that I can split the string up into some number of pieces. So from here, I should be able to do for pause equals 0, while pause is less than id dot length minus length pause plus plus. Do you hear the trepidation in my voice? Does that make sense? Pause's position is 0, and we're going to look at strings of length. But I'm going to do pause plus equals length. There we go. I think. So position is 0, while position is less than id.length, which would be 8 in our little test example, minus, say, 2. Yeah, I think maybe that's okay. And then I can do parts equals, no, what? Can I do this? I think I can. Parts equals 4, and then this is a stupid for loop. I don't have to do that in PowerShell, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then I'll do id dot substring pause comma length, and then for part for part index equals 0, while index is less than parts length index plus plus. I'll say so going through each index, I'll do, well, parts dot length minus 1, I guess. Parts 0, nope, index is equal to parts index plus 1. If that's true, return false. Where am I even? All right, this is the old code that I'm not using anymore. My error action stop up there. All right, let me review this again. So length is going to be half or half minus 1, rounded down. Length is 1, while length is less than max length. I guess it should be less than or equal to, huh? While length is less than or equal to max length. Length plus plus. If the length mod, the length of the whole string mod the length of substring I'm trying to test doesn't divide evenly, then don't test it at all. And then I go for each position and I add length to pause for each loop, and I grab the substring. So then I end up with a group of parts. Let me comment this out real quick and just say return parts. I'm curious, did I do that right? One, two, three, four. Okay. 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3. Position is less than. There we go. I'm going to do parts dash join space so I get. There we go. So I tested 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I checked 1, 2, and 3, 4, 3, 4, and 12, 12, and 34. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. That looks good, right? Okay. Okay, it worked with that number. Let's do this one. Yep, returned false. And it got to 1, 2, 3. It didn't even bother testing 1, 2, 3, 1 against that. So that ended the way I wanted it to. That returned false. Okay, let's test a couple valid ones. This contains no invalid IDs. Yeah, that's fine. All right, let's get rid of that. Grab my function that I've been working on and put it back over here. Test product ID, clear. Part 2 with the sample input. Did I? Nope. Okay. Adding up all the invalid IDs in this example. So we are. Let's take a look at our whole set of logic again. Oh, that's right. There was in part 1. we checked for, where was it? We checked to see if it started with a 0, and it's still down here. I'm seeing your chats right now. All right. So for each product ID in, we have our range and we get the range of numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Based on how the output of the function might not catch it. Okay. Let's do test. 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5. Not valid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Yeah, that's working. But I didn't, I removed, I don't know why. I removed some logic here. So yeah, we're going to do, for each product ID in range, get range. Oh no, I do have that in my, okay. So for each range in ranges gets my content, or my, gets content and splits it up for me. I set my invalid ID sum to 0. I go through each range, and if the start number matches a 0, I'm going to add that. That's still a rule, right? We're still considering those. There are still invalid IDs in the ranges. Maybe anything else was doing other silly patterns also. Now an ID is invalid if it's made only of some sequence. I think maybe the wording is contradictory, because up here it makes it sound like we're adding a new rule, but then it says now an ID is valid if it is made, and it doesn't say now an ID is also invalid. So do I still, well, this number is bigger than the number I was getting, so I should be finding more invalid numbers for sure. So that should be fine. So if the range matches, it starts with a 0, then I'm going to adjust. I'm going to count that as an invalid number, convert it to a long. Start equals long, range.start, yes, add that, and then range.start is start plus 1. Okay, so I'm setting the range up. I'm also doing that with the end. And then if those numbers are the same, then I continue. And then I go through each product ID in the whole range and test the product ID. If it returns true, then it's valid. If it returns false, then I add the product ID to my invalidity sum. So that seems fine. But my function is still slightly wrong. Let me have it spit out. Let's go down here. Right, verbose. Range, start. Range dot start, invalid. Range end is invalid. So I want to know those, and then why not? Right. Range start and end are now the same. Well, it might have been the same all to begin with. We're gonna see. Okay, and then I'll do is valid equals test product ID product ID. All right, verbose product ID is valid. Okay, that's going to produce a lot of numbers. I don't know if I actually want that. That's fine. If test product ID, so if is valid, continue. If not, do the thing. And let's full screen that. Dash verbose. Okay, it's not that many. 11 is invalid, or 11 is valid, false. 12 valid, true. This is false. 99 valid, false. 100 valid, no, because of the double zero. Valid, 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 false. All of these are false because of the double one. Oh crap, you're right. 100 is valid. Because we're looking for repeated patterns on the whole string. Thank you. Forgot that part. All right. So y test product ID does our test 110. All right. So why is that? Verbose? No. Did I take? Why is my number still below the? Who knows, man? Parts. Dash join. Right. Verbose. Let's try that. So I'm testing 1 and 1 IC. I'm only checking to see if two consecutive things, again, I need to check if all three of them are the same. All right. I'll update it here again. So if for index is 0, if parts index is equal to parts one, return false. I don't want to return false there. Let's do a return true. And then repeated pattern equals so that's potentially going to this match equals false. Maybe I'll just do this. It's not very clever, but clever code isn't necessarily good code. So if those are equal, no, that's not going to do it. I need to check to see if all three of a thing are equal to each other. So I should do index equals 1, and then do if parts 0 is not equal to parts index. Then I can do return true because at least 2 are not identical. Get rid of this mismatch here. And then we can do a return false at the end instead. Damn it. What did I do there? 1, 1, 0, that is right. Those are the 3 groups of characters that I'm trying to check. And I'm going to say parts. If parts 0 not equal to parts index, which is going to be 1 and then 2. Yeah, I'm sure it's an off by 1 error. Thanks for hanging out. So close. If so we're just going to check all of the parts of the string against the first one. So we're supposed to, in the first loop, check to see if these two. Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. So if get that backwards somehow? What am I doing? So parts 0 is 1. Check that against parts 1. And they are equal. So this is false, and we go to remove the -1. Parts don't like -1. Should that be a less than or equal? Son of a bitch. I mean, it's probably that I probably didn't fix it either, but we'll find out. Part 2, sample input, verbose. That's like way off. I shouldn't be returning here. Should I not be returning here? Because right now, if I return here, I might not necessarily have... not in this function. This function is just testing the numbers to see if they're valid. And I screwed up the logic on it, because right now it's returning from within, it's returning true from within this for loop when it might not actually be valid. Because this says it's valid. I'm not going to go through it, but so I should do part 0 is equal to the next one, then all parts match equals false. No? Start with true and then change it to false when they definitely don't. The only error is the top line. I don't know which one is top line. Is it this one up here? Oh, you're talking about down here. Okay. Yeah, 21, 21, 21, 21, 21. That is not valid, but it is considered valid because we checked this against this, and we didn't check two character because we returned early. We returned early without checking a length of 2. So yeah. I'm changing this a little bit because I can't return from in here. I shouldn't return from in here. I'm going to say all parts match and give it a default value of true, and then say if part is equal, if it's not equal to the next part, then all parts match equals false. Then I think I'm gonna return true by default down here. But if all parts match, return true. And I have a little squiggly. Did I miss something, or is PowerShell just being slow? That's good. All parts matching is true. I'll just run it. Have it show me my error, if there really is one. Let's do test. That number is valid, but if I did 1212, oh, the term true is not. Oh, der. go. Now it's testing 2-digit characters and it returns true, which is wrong. All parts match. We want it to be false because they are repeated. Yeah, no. So test return says that it's valid. So if it returns true, it's valid. If it returns false, it's not. I had this return true here when it should have, or yeah, it should have been false. So now it's returning false. Now I can do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's also false. But if I do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, that should be true. If I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not valid. Also not valid. But if I had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 at the end, that's perfectly fine. We'll drop this back in here. And then see what my next bug is. Back to our test. Oh, what? 417265. Oh, finally. That was correct with a sample input. Let's see. This is so gross. But it's hopefully going to give me the right number. And if it doesn't, it's 10:30, I gotta call it a night. That's taken a long time. PowerShell is slow if you do dumb things in PowerShell. And right now, I'm not writing very performant code, that's for sure. It's definitely slower than I was expecting it to be. Bad for choosing the easy solution of the elegant one. No. Like, sometimes, and by elegant, I assume you mean like clever, clean, shorter, more, technically faster, efficient. No. It depends on what the problem is that you're trying to solve. Like, if you're most of the PowerShell that I write is doing working with configuration, doing reporting, configuration changes and reporting for video surveillance systems. And most of the time, it doesn't matter if the code could be faster, because the difference is like completing in 5 minutes or 6 minutes. So I don't worry too much until I get into problems of scale. And that's when I start feeling bad, because when you get to large scale problems, like somebody trying to configure, for a real world example, we have customers that have like thousands of roles defined for permissions. And then each role has like thousands of individual camera permissions defined. And when you start trying to do that configuration in bulk, like, you really need to avoid, loading too much stuff in memory, or making unnecessary calls and all that. So yeah, anyway, I worry when I get to things that are larger scale, and then optimize. Try not to optimize too early. Is that the right number? I don't know. It feels like it's not going to be the right number. Oh, dear Lord, it's correct. All right. Ooh. Return to your advent calendar. There we go. 4 stars. Day 3 is available now. It dropped while I've been streaming, and I'm not going to do it tonight because it is 10:37 where I'm at. Oh, you're corrupting me. Day 3, you descend a short staircase, enter the surprisingly vast lobby, and are quickly cleared by the security checkpoint. When you get to the main elevators, however, discover that each one has a red light above it. They're all offline. Batteries nearby that can supply emergency power to the escalator for just such an occasion. The batteries are labeled with their joltage rating, a value from 1 to 9. You make a note of their joltage ratings. Batteries are arranged into banks, each line of digits. So, yep, my brain can't even process this problem tonight. Maybe tomorrow, or maybe I'll just do 2 more days the next, like the night after next or something. I am grateful for your participation tonight, Anonymous. Whoever you are, thank you for your tips and your company, and for keeping me up longer than I had intended to stay up. I am going to call it a night. Thank you. Until next time, have a good one wherever you are.